College football season is in the books totally. I know it has been for a while for the Noles, but of course, Alabama and Georgia met for the national championship on Monday night. And Florida State fans, were you paying attention? You might see some prospects out there that you might like. Talking Florida State football for the next hour with all of you. Of course, we got Logan Robinson here from Nole Game Day. So head on over to Nole Game Day. Check out everything they've got in store there. Logan, what's going on tonight?
Mark, good evening. Feels great. Just got out of the shower, feeling nice and ready for the rest of the evening. God knows what could happen nowadays for Florida State and Florida State fans and FSU Twitter. It just seems like once now that the transfer portal has opened for Georgia and Alabama, every player FSU fans are after. So it's just the funness of being stressed out, and every name, it seems like, could go in Florida State's favor, which we'll discuss tonight and talk about the real facts about all this. But it's fun. This is the fun part, at least, where the transfer portal adds in more content for us to talk about and doesn't make it so boring. But college football officially over for the season. It's wild.
Yeah, people leave your comments and questions there in the live chat. The super chat's available as well. Before we start looking at some of these players, and I'm sure a lot of you will have your favorites and people that you've heard or think might be possibilities for Tallahassee. Just leave them in the live chat. But, it's a Florida State guy that saw a national championship team in 2013 and a playoff team in 2014, and then saw it 2015, still really good, but not as good, 2016, and saw the decline, and then Jimbo left, and we know what happened. When you watch Alabama and Georgia and see that level of play and know that that was the standard at Florida State, what do you see in terms of the difference in that game versus Florida State on the field this year?
I see bigger boys. I see bigger guys out there. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
It's hard not looking at, of course, Jordan Davis, but the guy right next to him doesn't look to be so much smaller than him, which is
Devontae Wyatt. He can push some people around.
Yeah, there's no joke there. But I think I see teams like these, Alabama, Georgia, some of these bigger teams, Ohio State. They build up front, and the rest does its own. I mean, the size is a difference, and that definitely helps those running backs. I mean, Robinson from Alabama. I mean, that's a running back right there, and it's crazy to think he waited this long to play. But I mean, it's funny they can just turn them out, and it just is what it is. But there's a big size difference. There's discipline, and but not too crazy much more than what we see here in Tallahassee. And Norvell's trying to preach on that and switch things up with penalties and trying to decrease that. And they did a good job with that last year. And you saw that with Alabama in this game. This was a national championship. There's going to be mistakes. Things happen. The nerves, all-time high, adrenaline's rushing. So, but it was fun to watch. Definitely near the second half was the most fun, obviously, in this game. And I think every school in the country knows, it seems like every year now, after Georgia or Alabama play, or even Ohio State, like, you got to start looking at the transfer portal and see who did Florida State miss on closely in the recruiting cycle, and wonder, could there be ties where Florida State could bring back one of these guys if they enter the NCAA transfer portal. So that's what I was watching the most, seeing, this guy didn't get really much burn in this game, nor, did this person on Alabama's team. So I think that was a lot of Florida State fan and the fan base this Monday night watching. This could potentially be a guy in garnet and gold maybe one day, but I'm sure we'll talk about it in a few. But Florida State still, before the national championship, had a really good week. Really good week.
Yeah. So if you're not aware, just you can look it up online, and I'm sure that people are going to be putting names in the chat. But of course, the national championship game was late Monday, so sure enough, tons of Georgia and Alabama players announced for the transfer portal here in the last day. Jared Verse is a guy that we talked about extensively last week, and he is on his way, and he is a Florida State Seminole. So,
Yep.
Logan, you got a chance to talk to him.
Yeah, Jared, Dustin had been in contact with him throughout his recruitment once hitting the transfer portal at Albany. This was by far, I think, Florida State's top target there in the portal, along with a lot of other teams in the country. This is a major pickup for the Seminoles. They needed to refuel there at the defensive end position group. I know we talked about a ton this past season, Mark, about Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas and their impact. That pass rush was incredible. It was impressive this last season. And you lose two of those guys because they're 1 year SEC guys coming in and they're off and going to head into the draft. Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas gone. Now, how do you refill that? You go into the transfer portal. There's a big time product there, extremely talented, one of the top 5 transfer portal talents in it with Jared Verse, and you're able to snag him. One of the biggest things with him, I think, through his recruitment is that, this was a business move for him. This wasn't some hoolah about, trying to get all the fan bases riled up and tease Tennessee, tease Florida State, tease other ones. He did the basics of tweeting, "Hey, thank you for the offer," and he tweeted out the picture of him. This is a mature guy, and we got to speak with him yesterday or 2 days ago about his recruitment, how that went down, and he said he had a really good feeling when he left FSU. At first, when he went in, he was honest, and he said he didn't feel so comfortable with it, but once leaving the program and leaving the more at FSU, he felt like, this could be the place for me. And, he had chats with Mike Norvell. It was actually just him, his mom, and Mike Norvell, and they spoke. And he kept it real with them and, said, "I'm going to give you the best," talking about Mike Norvell. "I'm going to give you the best, and I'm going to give you all the energy I can, but I'm going to really need you to do the same to me if we're going to do this." And first brought that up to us, and he said that was a pivotal factor on picking Florida State, along with his conversations he had with Jermaine Johnson. I think Jermaine told him the real stuff about being in Tallahassee, what it has, the pros and also the cons. And I think that's what Jared, as being a mature guy, been playing in college. This is a business decision for him, and he wanted to hear these real things, have a mature conversation. You can do all the recruiting, all the hula, all the goodies, but I want to hear what I'm going to be dealing with when I come into Tallahassee. And that's something that Jared talked about, his conversation with Jermaine Johnson and also Keir Thomas. So this is a really big time pickup for Florida State. And I think as fans, as some of the fan base, they kind of instantly think, got this guy, and then celebrate for about 5 minutes. And then the next question is immediately in the Discord or on Twitter in the DMs, who's up next? Who can we get next? We need someone else next. But at some point, you've got to enjoy it, man. You got to enjoy landing who I think is going to be an NFL talent. You're talking about like a top 3-round NFL talent, still got a lot of work to do, and he admitted that. But you're landing someone with this kind of magnitude, like which on multiple sites listed as the number 2 transfer talent behind Caleb Williams. You got to celebrate. You got to enjoy what you got there. And I understand FSU fans are, they're greedy. They want more and they want more, and that's understandable. But this was a great pickup for Florida State. And I think he's going to not only be good on the field, but really a good representation of Florida State like Jermaine Johnson was.
Did I catch that right, Logan? That Jared Verse is the number 2 rated player in the transfer portal behind Caleb Williams?
Yeah. I saw that on, I forget whose site that was. If I were to look up top transfer portal options, I saw him at number 2, I believe.
Wow.
Everybody has it. I know everybody has it at different. Everybody lists their different kinds and whatnot, but it wasn't FSU. It wasn't an FSU outlet. It was a national outlet. So, and it makes sense. This guy is needed for a lot of teams, including Tennessee. The thing here, that's why it was really tough between Florida State and Tennessee, and that's what fans were worried about, because both teams desperately needed a pass rush. not only depth, but as a starter there, and that's what Jared Verse brings. But he was torn between Tennessee and Florida State, he said, and he also said Houston was a team that was pushing hard for him, and he was listening and had a good relationship building there. And tons and tons of schools across the country wanted him, but this was a really impressive landing for Florida State. Adam Fuller, the defense there, the coaching staff, and Mike. Mike was really big in on his recruitment, and they sat down and talked multiple times. And this guy, the thing with him, his speed, his get off is already really fast. He told me he ran a 10.97 100 meters in high school. He said I was only like 200 pounds then, but still,
wow.
You don't see a lot of 10.97s with 200-pound guys.
No.
You don't see that. Usually maybe in the 170-pound, 160, maybe even smaller than that. But 200 pounds at 10.97 100 meter is extremely impressive when we've seen that on film with his get off to get to the quarterback. But it was interesting to me because I told him, what are you working on this offseason? What are you going to do once you arrive here in a few days in Tallahassee? And he said, my get off has got to be better. I was like, that's what I was like, I'm no coach or anything, but I feel like that get off's pretty good. But he said, I've got to get better than that. He said, it's not at an elite level that I want it to be, and it's not going to work if I want to use this in the pros and the league. And that's something he's immediately going to start working on once he arrives in Tallahassee. So
where is he from?
So I believe Philly, if I'm correct.
Okay.
I believe Philly.
Because the first thing that at least I think of with an elite guy like this is, I don't know if this came up, and it doesn't matter now, but how does a guy like that land at Albany? Why is he not playing at Penn State or Notre Dame? Or you just figure coming out of Philly with that kind of talent.
Yeah, and he talked about it too and said that, I didn't receive a lot of offers throughout my high school days, and that's just kind of, some of those guys are missed. Those little gems are missed, and then you hear about them and college football where they had transferred and they just blow up and do their thing. And I have a feeling that he'll be around that range of an impact that Keir Thomas brought and Jermaine Johnson brought. I mean, Jermaine Johnson is Jermaine Johnson. It's going to be very hard to do that. I'm not saying that he's going to be replicant of that, but just to bring in that kind of pass rush that Florida State has needed since losing those two, it's going to play a big factor. I don't think Florida State is really done there. I think they'll wait until the spring and hear if there's any more options or if there is any coming out of Tuscaloosa or Athens. But, I don't think Florida State fans should instantly be, oh my God, Jared Verse, and instantly think about who to grab next. Florida State staff is going to do their thing, and a little bit of patience. Not every day has to be a new commitment from a transfer portal or nothing of that nature. Just give it some time.
So Logan, even though George here is a Gators fan, you got to love George.
I love it.
George is here all the time, and he jumps on all the shows. He's all over the place, saying we need a few hundred fans to join Mark's Patreon page for at least $5 a month to help support such a wonderful place where I can go hang out with my friends from Florida State.
How can I go? You have friends that are Florida State fans, George. George is a nice Florida fan, though. He always comes in here and hangs out with us. But I keep on telling Mark, I think Mark's going to do it this offseason. But at Discord, I think Mark would have all different kinds of fan bases in there. And it'd be easy for me to pop in. It'd be easy for me to pop in. That's why I love Discord. So I can go from server to server, pop in and talk Noles or college football in general, which I love doing.
Now that the college football season's over, I am a member of Discord, and I do see what you guys are doing on Nole Game Day. So Florida State fans, you got to be on the Nole Game Day Discord on Patreon. It's like $3 a month, right? $2.99.
Yep, $2.99 a month. You would have known about Verse. I think we talked about that. We talked about it. We definitely were talking about Verse last Wednesday because I had put in a prediction, I believe, on Tuesday morning of a 5 out of 5 of Jared Verse to Florida State, which for the next 48 hours I was sweating, and I don't usually put 5 of 5s in for anybody, usually unless I feel like it's confirmed and my info is secure, so my name isn't ripped apart on Twitter all day the next day. But yeah, I put in a Jared Verse and a Tatum Bethune 5 out of 5 for them to be Florida State Seminoles. So if you guys haven't joined yet, it's patreon.com/NoGameDay. So definitely appreciate everybody hopping in there.
So my deal is we've got about 65 people there on Patreon at the Voice of College Football. And now that the season's over, I can finally take a little bit of a breath, not a big breath, but take like a half a second of breath.
Yeah.
Because I'm still pumping out content for 25 channels. So even though the season's over, that doesn't stop. But I'm going to take some time to sit down with this Discord and figure out how to use it and how to put it in play. So, George, we're going to have a Discord there on Patreon.
Good Lord. I don't think people are understanding 25 channels like that. Just like you just said that and act like there's nothing to it. Like 25 channels. I can't even think about my one that I'm like, oh man, I've really got to find a video this week, let alone you posting at least 1 or 2 on each channel a day. I'd be losing my mind.
Yeah. So I've got to admit there's about 5 or 6 that are pretty dead that I just have not had time to get there and to post. But the other 18 or so are humming pretty regularly and content posted every day.
Yeah, so I'd be going crazy. But now you get some chill time to kind of look at the back end of the business model and see what time you want to put in during the off season. And
yeah, we got a lot of changes to make, a lot of upgrades to make. So we're going to be working on that.
I like that.
All right. So yeah, I picked Alabama to win. I was wrong. Luke Walker, North Carolina. Yeah, not enough North Carolina. That's one of our channels that I've just had to let go. I cannot keep up with all of them. So we're gonna build them up one at a time. So
slowly but surely.
Get our Alabama and Notre Dame channels up to 1,000. Those are the next 2 in line to get up to 1,000.
I like that.
And on top of that, Logan, I've had 2 people, one about 6 months ago, and fortunately he's pumping out the content that two different people have come to me and said, well, there's been a zillion people come to me and say, start a Minnesota channel, start an Arkansas channel. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have enough time. But 2 different people came to us just recently to start an Iowa channel and supplied some content for us. So we did that. And we got that up to 1,400 subs.
Oh, wow.
And then we've got, we just started a West Virginia channel because a guy kicked in with some support. And said, Mark, start a West Virginia channel. I said, yeah, I don't have time. And then he kicked in a little support. So there we go. Start a West Virginia channel.
Nice.
So that's the way to get it done, folks. If you want a channel started, kick in with a little support.
Yeah, a little support down below in the description. Give it a little support there, and Mark will get kicking real quick. Thinks he's going to bed, but then he sees that Cash App, Venmo come through, and like, oh wait, give me a second here. We'll build this next monster.
That's it. So, were there any of these Alabama, Georgia players? It doesn't have to be just down to those 2 teams, but obviously they were on the field and they just flooded the transfer portal.
Yeah.
But anybody that comes to mind, anybody that you're seeing other people talking about a lot?
Yeah, there's a lot of names. There was names even before the damn game started, but we can go through a few of them here. I think one that everybody likes to talk about, and we've talked about him multiple times the last couple of years, and even definitely through his recruitment, is Trey Sanders.
5-star.
Yeah, former 5-star running back. Florida State was heavy into that recruitment. Trey really liked Tallahassee and being near close to home here in the panhandle of Florida. As we know, didn't get a lot of burn this past season. He did, but he was not RB1, which, I think he wants to be that starter. Why would it make sense for him to enter the transport and leave Alabama? Because, Robinson, this last season, he's going to be gone. So, yeah, he would be the next man up, right? No, Gibbs from Georgia Tech is coming in, and he is expected to be RB1, who is extremely talented running back. Florida State was hoping to get really involved in his recruitment, which they did, but ended up picking Georgia Tech. plays a year, and he's going to be transferring over to Alabama, who's expected to be the starter there. I don't think Trey wants to be that. We'll see if he enters the transfer portal. It's going to be a quick blowing up FSU Twitter kind of day once if he does enter the transfer portal, because, I think Florida State would best play knock the tires there on Trey Sanders and see. The biggest thing with him is health-wise, and I think those injuries that he had with his knee and then the car accident, those kind of things are just freak accidents. I don't think he's a prone kind of guy. You can't even say that either, because if you go back to Deshaun Corbin, he had torn his ACL and came in and was Florida State's leading running back rusher. So that was a transfer from Texas A&M, now heading off into the NFL draft. So, we'll see on this. I think it'd be really too early to say anything or give any kind of anything until that transfer portal. If he does enter the transfer portal, then we could start giving some predictions and start knocking some sources and see what's going on there, and if there's any kind of close interest and any ties to where Florida State could, be in that recruitment for him. But we'll see on that. Go ahead.
And with Trey Sanders, it's not like he's obviously not satisfied coming in as a 5-star with the role that he's had and the amount of playing time, but it's not like he's been on the shelf completely for the best football program in the country. He did carry it 14 times in a playoff game against Cincinnati. So he's on the field and he's playing. His other decent games in which he got some reps, season opener against Miami, he scored a touchdown, had 8 carries for 41 yards. Mississippi State, 4 carries, 27 yards. Had 10 carries in the Iron Bowl against Auburn, had 6 carries in the SEC championship game, and then another 2 carries in the national championship game. So he's been on the field for Alabama in huge games, so he's not going to be intimidated or not be accustomed to whatever's on the schedule for Florida State. So here's a guy that's ready to roll and ready to go if he so chooses to follow through on the transfer portal.
Yep, and there's a lot of family. I mean, this is a Panhandle guy. He's got a lot of family around, so it makes sense. But I don't want to rush in anything. This is just, we're talking about names that a lot of y'all I know in the chat and watching right now have probably talked about or seen on the Twitter timeline of Trey Sanders. So it's good to just have a little conversation on. Nothing can really happen. We're not going to go in the deep details until that transfer portal option is hit there, if he does indeed enter it. But Gibbs going there definitely changes up a lot of things for him. Maybe Jermaine Burton up next, maybe from Georgia, the wide receiver.
Yep.
Mark, maybe we can speak about here. That was one of the names today and throughout the week that Florida State fans have been talking about heavily on the timeline. Florida State, as we know, has been bringing in a lot of new wide receivers, starting off with Micah Pittman. You also had Jordan Wilson come in. You had Winston Wright also from West Virginia, speedy guy that joined Florida State. I don't even know if we even talked about him yet, but Florida State has added a lot of new attrition to that wide receiver room, which we'll talk about maybe in the next episode next week about potentially losing some of those guys in the room, not the new guys, but some potential transfers in the future there for that wide receiver room, because it's starting to get a little slammed and packed. But going back to Jermaine Burton, Georgia wide receiver, I think 6'4", 210, 220 kind of guy, big wide receiver, lengthy. Could there be ties to Florida State here? We saw Micah Pittman tweet earlier today, Florida State's new wide receiver signee, say that they are not done yet. And there's been some the detectives are on it here in Tallahassee trying to figure out if that means ties to former teammates in Calabasas, California, with Jordan Wilson and Micah Pittman, those 3 playing together. Could those 3 team up together in college at FSU? We'll see if Burton ends up hitting the transfer portal, but will be something to keep an eye on if he definitely indeed does, if he does hit that transfer portal. But there was a lot of bat signals and teasing kind of tweets earlier today from some of the graphic designers that put out the commitment edits for a lot of these guys, and we're trying to connect all the dots, but I think some of this is a little rushed. But Jermaine Burton may be one to keep an eye on, Mark, if he does indeed hit the transfer portal.
Kind of similar to Trey Sanders in that he's not a featured player for Georgia, but he certainly is on the field, gets a ton of reps, gets a lot of targets, caught 26 passes this past national championship season, 497 yards, over 15 yards per catch, 5 touchdowns. That's coming off a 2020 season with pretty much exactly the same production, 27 catches for 484 and 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, Jermaine Burton, again, you're going to get a guy that's not going to be fazed by anything that he sees on the schedule, opponents. He's seen it all. He's played in the biggest games, and he would be an excellent addition.
Yeah, and Florida State, if that were to happen, we're talking way into the future. If that does indeed happen, I mean, this wide receiver room is looking at a big time flip alone, and flip incomes guys hitting the transfer portal. I think that's going to happen more, maybe coming in closer to the spring, but that whole wide receiver room went to thin to just now it's just ticking time bomb to blow up, and there's going to be some guys in the transfer portal, and still waiting on Dustin Hill. Is that going to happen this summer? That's the last time period that it can happen. If it doesn't happen then it will never happen. I'm almost on the point of it ain't ever happening. But if that were to happen too, and you have Dustin Hill join, I mean, you're completely stacked there, and there's going to be guys leaving the program to find other places to get PT. So I just know that's another name that a lot of people have been talking about since on Twitter. This is a good question here. Michael Trigg, former big-time tight end product in high school, ended up picking USC. As we know, Florida State was really, 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 really close in on this recruitment near the end. Marvin Wilson had his kind of his episode with Mike Norvell after the, I don't really know what to call it then. And I think Marvin Wilson wouldn't even know really what to call it then either, but calling out Mike Norvell and saying not trustworthy, whatever that was. And Michael Trigg kind of pulled off his recruitment and kind of went silent on Florida State after that. And, was really listening to what Marvin Wilson was saying and didn't want to really talk to the staff as much anymore. I think it was reported and rumored that he's going to visit Ole Miss. We'll see if there's any kind of contact being made between Florida State and Trigg. I don't know if that kind of burned bridges then between Mike Norvell, the staff, and Trigg once he kind of went silent on them and all the Marvin Wilson stuff was going on. But we'll see. That one is such a toss-up. This one we can talk a little bit more about because he's in the transfer portal, but for me, I've not heard much of anything on this. I think if it were to be, it'd be pretty silent, and I would be hearing sooner rather than later that Florida State has been in contact with Trigg just because of his past affiliation and the recruitment between the staff and him, and that being so close. So the longer it goes, unless I'm not just hearing anything, I don't see Trigg being in Tallahassee. So we'll see if anything turns up by the end of the week.
Yeah, Michael Trigg played in 4 games for USC. It was a pretty bad USC team that was completely off the national radar. Who watched any USC football this year? He played 4 games, caught 7 balls for a touchdown against Colorado. So that's what he had working this fall.
Yeah, and like I said, I think this would be all relationship. And Florida State has another big room of tight ends. I still think you can have a lot of numbers there, but talent is a little bit differently. I mean, I think Cam McDonald is on another tier ahead of some of the other guys behind him. I think there's a few more younger guys that are up and coming, but Cam McDonald's really sitting there at the top. You would like to have maybe guy with more experience be out there, but you've got Preston Daniel, and you got a few more that have really just a small amount that have more playing time than Preston Daniel and definitely Cam McDonald. So we'll see. We'll see if anything pops up with the trick stuff. I'm just not hearing anything between Florida State and him right now.
Mr. G4 Classified, appreciate you being here. Appreciate you encouraging everyone to hit that like button. Of course, doesn't take any effort. Click, hit the like button, do it every time, and we appreciate that. Perry's telling us that we're on the top of our game. Really? I didn't really feel it tonight, but that's all right. I appreciate that.
I'm feeling good, Mark. I'm feeling I got a lot of energy today. I feel like this is a good show. We're doing fantastic. Someone's got to. I mean, this is a place to be on Wednesday nights. I don't think there's any better place, honestly, just to talk about rumors. Just kind of chat it up. Shoot the S.
Harry, that is Logan bringing all the vibe. It just kind of rubbed off on me. Just kind of came my way a little bit. I picked up on it a little bit because he's dragging me along.
I'm here for Mark on Wednesday. This is the middle of the week. Mark's got 25 other channels. This is where I kind of wake Mark back up and he gets ready for the latter half of the week.
That's it.
There was a question on here, Mark, about Sabbath Joseph, who is a defensive, or should I say former defensive analyst for Florida State. I broke there inside the Discord earlier that I'm expecting him to announce him joining Mario Cristobal's staff in Miami. Florida State had hired him. This is a one-year guy at Tallahassee, came in, had ties in the Miami area, and was helping as much as he could in recruiting. But, now that I believe you got Randy Shannon there and doing a lot of recruiting work there, I don't think this is a major loss for Florida State, but I was told that to expect Sabbath Joseph to be going to Miami as a potential quality control analyst there, off-field roles. So kind of doing about the same thing there, just defensive analyst to quality control over there for Cristobal's camp. So, and there is multiple times I know some people saying not really missing much here, and that's fine. But he's had connection and ties into Miami, and I know he was in on a few recruitments for Florida State. Were they pivotal? Is he a pivotal factor in that? I don't believe so. So this is not a big time miss by FSU, and best of luck to him too. He follows me over there on Twitter, so wish him the best. And he cleared out all of his Twitter stuff earlier, I think, too, of FSU material. So I do believe it should be announced soon that he's going over there to Miami.
We've got about 100 on the line. We're here every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock Eastern time, with Logan Robinson, Noel Game Day. So if you love Florida State football, that is the place to be. Noel Game Day, and in particular on Patreon for $2.99 a month. Get into the Discord on Patreon. And you brought up the Miami situation with the quality control analyst there. Yeah. Other people are commenting just that competition between Florida State and Miami. I know you're so locked in on the Noles that you don't even, I don't think, pay too much attention to what Miami's doing, but a few people in the chat concerned about the competition between the two. Of course, Miami got off to a lousy start. They had the coaching transition take place, and Mario Cristobal is making some headway now.
Yeah, and the funniest thing to me is Kevin Coleman. I mean, I even thought that and if I were going to put into 1, 2, 3, I was thinking Miami, Florida State, and that was about it. Like, I mean, anybody else would grab them, but I had just thought, that morning of when I woke up with a really bad hangover, I was thinking, what would Deion Sanders do? And it's perfect for him. He could piss off Miami. Never liked Miami, obviously, being a rival. He could piss off Florida State, and he could just add more fuel to the fire with his team there in Jackson State and add Kevin Coleman. You've already got Travis Hunter, blah, blah, blah. This one doesn't make a whole ton of sense to me. I understand the Travis Hunter one with wanting to go play as a DB and be coached by Deion Sanders. I don't really understand the wide receiver much move there, and blah blah blah. But I mean, they're going to go against some talent that's not so great, and they can put up some highlight tapes on Instagram. So
Yeah.
But I think Miami's still, they're trying to make some moves there, and it's always going to be a competition. But I think Florida State has a good leadway and a lead on the guys down south for right now. We'll see.
Especially a wide receiver. That is just a different position when it comes to what you need. It's the most dependent position on the field. If you're going to go to Jackson State, let's say, and you're a D end, and you just want to run around a lot of overmatched offensive tackles and show what you can do, yeah, then the NFL scouts are going to have to try to evaluate that against, not that they don't already do that for the FBS historically black college players anyway, but it's just kind of a tougher read. But wide receiver, man, if you don't have a quarterback that can get the ball to you, then it's the one position where you need somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see, and best of luck to him too. I mean, Florida State did a great, it's about as best as they could in that recruitment too, and that's kind of how this year has gone. I mean, it just never. It wasn't going to end where Florida State's closer. I still thought Miami was closer than Florida State near the end, but they did a good job. And Kevin Coleman, from what I know, had told the staff that he was leaning towards Florida State heading to early signing day, and so that's when he did his signing. And then seemed to be with Florida State, obviously, nor our friends down there in Miami. So Miami, they got their own taste of medicine from making fun of FSU fans on early signing day with Travis Hunter stuff. Came back to bite you with Kevin Coleman, huh?
So, Logan, before we get to the comment or the question on the screen, we got a lot of comments coming in about where's Jason, where's Jason, where's Jason. So,
wow.
What you guys should all do, I don't know if Logan's going to back me up on this one, but this is what you should all do. Don't ask us where Jason is. Go on Twitter and look up Jason, which I think it's Jay Peasy, right?
JPZ.
Yeah, so it's JPEEZIE.
Yeah, and it should show up. Yeah,
it should show up for you. And if not, all you have to do is maybe go to Logan or my account, and you're going to see a following from Jason. If you look up our followers, and you look up Jason right there, and you guys go directly right to him. You ask him.
Yeah, we don't know where
what's going on.
We don't know where Jason is. Free Jason. Hashtag. Well, we're not even freeing him. He is free. It's more like, where are you? Really, just where the F are you, Jason? And if we can get that trending on Twitter, that'd be much appreciated. We don't know where Jason is. Me and Mark thought we'd see Jason tonight, but
yeah,
I think it's got to be girl stuff. It's got to be. There's got to be a lady in the mix here. Something's happening.
You get a lady involved, and guys just forget everything, forget everybody.
It hasn't happened to you though, Mark. Mark, you're in the game. Business is business. We got to do business, and then the fun times come later on. But business is business.
That's right. That's right.
This is a very good question. This is from William asking what thoughts on Michael Alford and increasing the funding for the football and the salaries for the coaching staff. So I think I was hearing a lot of things, and I'm close with a few guys and the few people in the program with Alford, the Seminole Boosters, the new NIL project called the Rising Spear that I know a lot of y'all haven't heard on, but hopefully be hearing some more in the future about. Michael Alford, I think, is all in, definitely on football. He understands what brings in the money, and that's something that in the past administration there fell off and didn't really put in a lot of effort towards. Alford has great experience in Oklahoma, Dallas, bringing in revenue, rising sales and revenue for, in-game and stadium merch, not really merch, but merchandising. That's something that Alford does. He's good at raising that money. And so I think Florida State and Mike Norvell and Alford are going to be a good tag team together. I think Alford's going to listen. He's going to try his hardest to help the staff as much as possible, because Florida State has got to do this if they want to bring in some of these recruits and bring in, some of these coaches across the country with respectable backgrounds. Sometimes you got to put in some good amount of money, and Florida State and Alford, I think, are going to most certainly try to do that, and that not only in for coaching staff, but around for the facilities. And he has been, since arriving, he's been stating that they are putting in a lot of work on raising money, raising capital, raising funding, getting pledges from these boosters to start building these facilities that other teams across the country build. I mean, look at Florida. They're building a really impressive football only facility. And I actually walked around it when getting to the stadium this past November. And, it's a good sized area, and they're going to, be spoiled with all of the amenities that these recruits will get to see in Gainesville. And, Florida State wants to do the same. You don't want to be splitting, the weight room or having to depict what your lifting schedule is with the track team. You don't want to be doing that with it's not basketball, but I forget a few more of the other sports teams. There's multiple men's and women's sports that work out in there. The cafeteria, everything's split together there too. You don't. A lot of colleges are way in advance than Florida State right now, so that's something Alford is pushing hard to do. I mean, from what I was told, there's a lot of things in the works that Florida State is doing. Stuff that I can't put out here and say. That stuff is internally going on that they're pushing hard to do. I know that Florida State was really figuring out where they want to put this football only facility. They want to put it on the IM fields across from College Town, which from what I heard, Alford was really pro for, putting that there. You could run shows, events, everything right in front of that, in front of College Town. Do you put it to the side there by Stadium Drive where the IPF already is? Those are things that Alford is working on heavily. So, there's some things in the works, and I believe Alford is most certainly, if you're wanting a guy, if you want an AD that is directing his focus towards building that football program and bringing it back to what it should be and catching up to the modern day of college football facilities, this is the right guy. It's just going to take a little time. In Florida State, they're not poor, but they could, find some help here and there, and they're doing that.
Got a question coming in concerning trying to find a backup quarterback for Jordan Travis. Are there any names getting kicked around in the transfer portal there?
We're at exactly
at quarterback. Backup quarterback.
I think right now Florida State will be in contact with a few. I still think there's one more. That if they do indeed hit the transfer portal, Florida State will most likely get in contact with. But right now, I don't see one necessary that Florida State is too eager in on pushing after. Like I said, I still am sticking with my heading into the spring expectation of Florida State pursuing some there. So I do think Florida State is going to want to bring in a backup quarterback for Jordan Travis just because of past experience with him and not being fully healthy throughout the season. And, he goes down a few times. You'd like to have a guy that you can bring in and not have to change your offense around, because we saw where even when Jordan Travis would go down, you bring in Milton and you're trying to run that same offense. It just doesn't work. It doesn't click. And, Milton wasn't mobile enough. If you can bring in a guy that has the same dual threat capability as Jordan Travis, just to have someone behind him and back him up, then, that's where you'd like to bring in some depth. And, a lot of people are talking about AJ Duffy, but this is a true freshman coming in. I do think that they'd like to get him some experience, but he's not going to get a whole ton of burn this upcoming season. So you want to try to find a guy that has had past college experience and has that same dual threat that Jordan Travis has. And we'll see. I think just a little bit of patience, And I still think it's going to be a spring thing for quarterback.
We got Florida State football talk for all of you each and every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock Eastern time with Logan Robinson from Nole Game Day. Hit the like button. Subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. Also head on over to Nole Game Day right here on YouTube. Check out what they've got going on, which is a Thursday night show, right?
Yep, Thursday night at 8:30. We'll be going live again and going to talk about all the portal craziness. It feels like it's just going to continue to go on for week to week, but hey, it gives us something to talk about and not talk about some silly, stupid stuff. And we don't yet have to talk about Willie Taggart versus Mike Norvell yet. So we haven't talked about, isn't it crazy? Since Jason, this is no hit on Jason at all, if Jason's here listening, but we have not talked about Willie Taggart in like 3 shows, at least 3 or 4 shows.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's kind of been a minute.
It's been a while.
And I can't say that I miss it either. I can't say it.
No, I'm good without it. I think we've pretty much stated our piece, all of us, on that one.
Yeah, I think so too. There was a question here with Junior Day that's coming up this weekend too, Mark. There's a Junior Day. Chris Parson told us that he'll be here. That is the top quarterback commit for Florida State. Extremely talented from Tennessee. He and his family will be traveling down here. They'll be staying in Thomasville, but they plan on being in Tallahassee at around 10 a.m. Don't go stalk him and go be paparazzi on him, but he'll be here early. That's your big bell cow for the 2023 class because we got to start getting started on that. And Florida State staff is most certainly doing their job on getting that cranking to build their class. But Chris Parson, really talented quarterback coming in. Really, really good ties with other players across the country. Jalen Brown, 5-star wide receiver, is someone to keep an eye on for the next couple of months. And Florida State trying to get closer there and finish off building that relationship with Jalen Brown because Chris Parson has a really good close connection with him. And, you know, we'll see and catch up with Parson over the weekend, along with a lot of other younger recruits coming in to visit the Seminoles this upcoming weekend. And, you know, once we get a list, I believe we'll be posting that on our site either tomorrow or Friday, but we'll be there. We'll be tweeting, we'll be posting in Discord and all that kind of stuff. But keep an eye out there for potential pops too. We'll see. But yeah, the staff is back at it, getting ready to build the foundation. I think they've already built this foundation, but really, you know, trying to start building this monster that they have in the 2023 class.
So, John Sarian, you are right. Paul Tyson, the backup quarterback to Bryce Young at Alabama, is in the transfer portal. He mopped up in 5 games this year, 10 for 16 for 150 yards. He was the 12th rated pro-style quarterback in his class of what should have been 2019. Yeah, right there in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Or Trussville, Alabama. 12th rated player in the state of Alabama, top roughly 300 player nationally, according to 247 Sports. So he obviously has a little bit of talent, and he is what you would consider like an ultimate legacy guy. Paul Bear Bryant is his great grandfather, or it wouldn't be grandfather. I think it would be great grandfather of Paul Tyson. But yeah, he is leaving Bama apparently.
Oh wow, damn. There's a question down here from RD746 saying, love our portal pickups. Do you see any young guys possibly starting or in heavy rotation next season? My picks are Shaheem Brown and Patrick Payton. I do like those picks. Payton has put on some more pounds. That's a defensive end. Shaheem Brown is a DB. I thought he had a really good start to the season last year. That's a young cat coming in. Florida State has really, 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 really bright future in the defensive backfield with some of those young cats. If I were to pick one offensively and defensively, some guys that can come in and get some burn right away. I just had one in my dadgum brain. Oh, Joshua Farmer, defensive lineman. Florida State is going to want to continue to get some pass rush going there. And I think Joshua Farmer was one of the most hardest coached players during practice. Odell Higgins has one of the deepest voices on the teams. We'll let you know if something ain't working, if it ain't right. But it seemed like Joshua Farmer, I think, was doing some right things, but maybe Coach Odell Higgins was saying the opposite just to kind of give him a hard time. And I think Odell has a really close relationship with him, so he's able to do that for being a local guy. But Joshua Farmer coming in, I think, is going to get burned. I think not a lot of people are talking about him, and that's completely fine. That's how it should be. Farmer would be a guy right now before we even get into the damn winter conditioning, which just started this week. If I was going to make a prediction on someone to get some burn, I'd go Joshua Farmer. And then offensively, I got to pick someone in that offensive line. I have to. I mean, this class was one of the best in the country coming in with the offensive line unit. I've got to go. It'd be early, but I really liked how Julian Armella played this past weekend for the Under Armour, or not the Under Armour, but the Army All-American Bowl game. I thought his technique got better. His feet looked good. And just looked better overall. I thought he played really well against some of the competition, like Marvin Jones Jr., who we know committed to Georgia. And I forget the other defensive end, something white at the end of it. Someone will tell us in the comments. But I thought Julian Armella looked really good, and I really like, even though he's not going to be early enrolling, I do think he's been putting in a lot of work. He's been working a lot on his technique, and we got to see that it went really well for him during the Army All-American game. And he's a big leader too. He kind of brings that alpha tenacity and that personality that I don't think Florida State offensive lineman recruit has brought in, which I kind of want that to reset this rim because it's going to be needed. I think Quayshawn Sapp is another guy to keep an eye on. He looks great, and he's been a bell cow for that 2022 class. So, but right now, something's telling me, Julian Armella, someone to watch out for getting some early burn in his career at Florida State. So, yeah.
Folks, you can sponsor the show. You can sponsor the channel. Just hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. I'll give you all the specifics on how many people we reach and what we can do for you. So once again, MarkRogersTV at Gmail. If you would like to sponsor here at the Voice of College Football, head on over to Patreon. Pick up the Discord on a Knoll Game Day. They're on Patreon.
I appreciate it, Mark. That's where we're trying to keep up with all the competition. There's a ton of great sites out there that are covering Florida State sports. So just trying to do our best over there and get some content out to everybody and try to also bring some entertaining content. You know how it is, Mark. Got to kind of keep the fans on the channel. So make sure everybody hits this like button. What are we at? We're at we have 120 people watching. We get this to 75 likes. We can get this 75 likes in 2 minutes.
And we also have a bunch of people that have made comments and questions that obviously didn't see the start of the show. So we covered a lot of that ground of different things and topics that you guys are bringing up. So just wait for the video to post as soon as we get done here and watch what you missed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Make sure you just got to scroll on back. And we talked about a ton of things. Jared Verse. We talked about potential portal targets where Florida State could land. Potential some of those. Tons. There's tons in there that everybody should go back and listen to if you are just hopped in here. But I think we got to get to 75 likes. 66. I don't know. Being in the 60s just doesn't seem like a good number. In the 70s, you get lucky number 7, and then you get 5 in there. So then you feel like you're closer to 80. Just we got
Logan wants 75. He's calling for 75, and time is running out for us.
We're at 70.
Quickly. I got to run.
Yeah, no, Mark's got to run now. But if you're on your phone, hit the like button. Mark will be happy later. Oh, we're at 73. It's going to happen, Mark.
Get it. Somebody get it.
Someone
2 people.
Two people have to hit
go.
it. Come on, people got it. Oh, I think we're there. That's just YouTube's taking a minute there to register.
Appreciate everybody doing that. And we're heading on over to the Miami channel. So we switch channels. You got to keep following the bouncing ball from channel to channel. And we're going to Miami here to talk Canes here. So come on over, and you can, if you're a Miami fan, of course, but if you're a troll, that's fine. Head on over and trash talk on the Miami channel. Logan, this happens because of you, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Mark. 85 likes, by the way, 10 more than what we thought. Hell yeah.
See y'all next week.